Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are strapping in for let's call it a high-risk exploration into a piece of video game history that dared to challenge the king.
A very ambitious piece of history. We are diving deep into Sunsoft's 1986 Famicom action game, Atlantis no Nazo.
Or the Mystery of Atlantis.
Exactly. And this game, you have to remember, it arrived right after Super Mario Bros., and its design brief was, incredibly clear.
What was it?
Surpass Mario.
Just that. Wow.
Yeah, it was advertised as an ultra-adventure game. It had these interconnected, nonlinear maps, a structure that was, virtually unheard of at the time.
So the premise is pure pulp adventure.
Totally. The lost continent of Atlantis suddenly rises from the South Atlantic, drawing in adventurers.
None of whom ever return. So you, the player, you're an explorer named Wynn.
Right, and you're heading to the island to find your master, who's been missing for about half a year.
And of course, you're challenged by the predictably evil Emperor Zavila.
Of course. And Wynn's only weapon is his master's invention, a little bomb called Bomb. That sounds pretty epic, right? Like a deep, rewarding exploration game.
It does. But here's the immediate pivot. The moment this game hit the public, its reputation just, solidified into something far less grand.
And far more punishing.
Exactly. If you talk to anyone who mastered it, or even just tried to, they'll tell you it is simply an extremely difficult game packed with unreasonable elements.
And that's really the focus of our deep dive today. We're not just discussing difficulty, we're analyzing why this difficulty feels intentionally hostile.
Okay, let's start where every player's frustration begins.
Sure.
The controls. The controls for our hero Wynn. Because this is not precise Mario physics.
No, this is pure chaos. It's a study in complexity that feels designed to frustrate.
How so?
Well, Wynn's jump strength is determined by a combination of two factors. How long you hold the jump button and your existing horizontal inertia.
Okay, that sounds complicated already.
And get this, the sources tell us that maximum inertia is reached within the first 3 frames of horizontal movement.
Wait, 3 frames? On a system running at 60 frames a second? That means you have, less than 1/10 of a second to get up to full speed before you jump?
Yep. If you want the longest jump possible, that's your window. It's not precision control. It's basically a coin flip every time you need to clear a gap.
And the punishment for getting it wrong is, I'm guessing, instant death.
Oh, yeah. So often, because once you're airborne, you lose almost all ability to steer. You have this high-speed takeoff with, non-existent midair control.
Well, but the levels are packed with tiny insta-death pits. I see the problem.
It's a nightmare. And if the horizontal movement wasn't bad enough, the vertical descent is maybe the most counterintuitive mechanic I've ever seen detailed.
What do you mean? You just fall, right?
You'd think so. But if you jump off a high cliff, Wynn doesn't fall straight down. He drifts diagonally forward.
Into a pit.
Into a pit. So to go straight down, you have to master this bizarre, almost meditative technique. Repeated, tiny vertical jumps, followed by slight, quick directional nudges to shift Wynn horizontally just enough to stay pressed against the cliff edge as you slowly edge your way down.
That sounds like a solution to a problem the developers invented, just to make the game harder.
It absolutely is. It feels like the player's being punished for just existing in the game space.
Okay, so let's pair those controls with Wynn's only weapon, the bomb. It should be helpful, but it sounds like it's more of a liability.
It has this notoriously slow time lag. You throw it, you wait, and then the narrow blast radius triggers. Hitting fast-moving enemies is, incredibly difficult.
And there's some weird rule about how it hits enemies too, right?
Yeah, a bizarre rule. Ground enemies can only be killed by the blast itself, not the bomb casing. But flying enemies can be hit directly by the bomb.
That distinction must have driven players mad trying to figure out the hitboxes. But here's the detail that elevates this from just hard to an esoteric masterpiece of confusion.
You're talking about the bomb warp. This is truly shocking, and it is confirmed as an intended feature. The damage from the bomb is used not to hurt enemies, but to hurt Wynn.
Intentionally. Why would anyone willingly blow themselves up?
Because the developers coded the damage in a very specific way. It's not instant death, it's a mishit that puts you in this temporary glitch-like state.
And in that state,
You can clip through the floor, you can phase into hidden doors without dying. It's exploiting a specific temporary status to break the game's geometry.
So, if their goal was to surpass Super Mario Bros., their big idea was to build exploration around self-inflicted damage to glitch through walls.
That's it. It feels fundamentally broken, not ambitious.
It's not just a fun trick either.
No, it is mandatory mastery. The sources confirm that certain crucial items, certain warps, are completely surrounded by blocks. The only way to get them is to use this self-destruct technique.
So if you don't master the bomb warp, you can't even take the best route through the game.
You can't. And the optimal route is essential because of the sheer scope of this thing. We were talking about 101 zones.
101. The first through 99th, plus a final zone and a hidden final zone. And they're not linear.
Not at all. The zones are linked by this chaotic, complex web of doors and secret warps. The knowledge gap between a new player and an expert is just astronomical.
It literally determines whether the game is hard or just impossible. If you play conventionally, using only the visible doors.
You have to clear a minimum of 44 zones. The sources classify that as ultra difficulty.
But if you know the secrets, the hidden paths, the bomb warps, the item locations.
The minimum zone count needed to finish drops dramatically.
To what?
12.
12 zones versus 44. That is a staggering difference, especially when you remember there's no continue feature. You fail that 44 zone run, and you're starting completely over.
And that sets the stage perfectly for what we're calling the Mysteries of Atlantis, because the real puzzle isn't the lore, it's the navigation.
Which means we have to talk about the most infamous, most punishing location in the entire game. The 42nd zone.
Ah, the legendary black hole zone.
The number 42 in Japanese can be read as shini, which means death.
And that is exactly what the zone is. You enter, the screen goes completely dark, and it just displays the text, black hole.
And then what?
Nothing. There's no footing, no enemies, no music, just a single unsettling death sound at the start. It is a guaranteed death trap. You just fall off the bottom of the screen.
It's fascinating because it's basically a penalty box. The sources say that 4 of the 5 entrances to this zone are tied to taking reverse routes or, like, unexpected paths.
Exactly. It's the game's way of saying, nope, I see what you did there, and now you must die.
It just reinforces that if you deviate from the hidden, intended path, the game becomes actively hostile.
And that hostility extends to the items, which swing wildly between absolutely essential and totally, utterly useless.
Let's talk about the essentials first. Without these, that 12-zone optimal route is impossible. You need the S item.
Right, for the screen-clearing attacks, which solves the problem of the bomb's tiny blast radius.
And then, the item that really unlocks survival. The star. Invincibility. It's pretty much mandatory for the final zone, which is just a brutal gauntlet. But getting the star is only half the battle. Keeping it is just as hard.
The conditions are brutal. You lose it instantly if you fall in a hole, run out of time, or, and this is the crucial part, if you mess up a self-destruct bomb warp.
So you have to use a high-risk, self-damaging technique to get the item in some places, and if you fail that same technique later, you lose the item instantly.
The difficulty curve doesn't just spike. It becomes a vertical cliff face the moment that star disappears. And to make it worse, it's only in 3 zones out of 101.
Only 3. Zones 10, 54, and 88. So you have these hyper-rare, life-saving items.
Yeah.
And then you have the other side of the ledger.
Some nonsensical item.
We have to talk about the item, the up arrow.
Oh, man. So you pick this up, and it grants you 3 points every time you press the up button.
30 points.
That's it.
Okay, for perspective, you get an extra life, a 1 UP at 100,000 points. And the sources say 1,000 points is roughly 1 coin in Super Mario Bros.
So to earn the equivalent of 1 Mario coin, you have to press the up button 334 times.
Let's just process that. To earn a single extra life using only this item, you'd have to hit the up button 33,334 times.
This isn't a game mechanic. This is manual labor. The sources compare it to the infamous task of punching 20,000 times in Takeshi's challenge.
You're talking over an hour of just mashing up for 1 life. Why would a developer even include this?
It's almost a taunt, isn't it? We gave you this item, now go earn it with extreme physical effort. It's just a deliberate design choice that mandates endless, pointless grinding.
It feeds right back into our core idea.
Mm.
The game's logic is deliberately obscure and punishing.
But not all the bizarre items are pointless.
True. Let's look at the mic item. This was designed for the Famicom's second controller, which had a microphone.
Right. You make a noise into the mic, and the enemies on screen freeze. Kind of a neat little novelty.
Yes, but the fun part is how it works now. On the Nintendo Switch Online port, they mapped the microphone input to pressing 2 buttons at once.
L and ZL.
Which means you can now just hold those buttons down.
Exactly. The mic item transforms from a niche utility into a completely broken one. You can pause all enemies indefinitely. The game's difficulty just evaporates.
A modern control translation completely changes the game. But the prize for the most bizarre secret has to go to the keyword hidden in the 20th zone.
Oh, the Nagoya code.
You get to this area with 3 moai statues, and the text keyword Nagoya is on the wall, just the name of a city.
And this wasn't just flavor text. This was a real clue. The telephone area code for the city of Nagoya is 758.
So wait, players had to know the area code of a specific Japanese city, connect that to 3 moai statues in Atlantis, and then guess that the sequence 758 meant something.
It meant you had to throw bum at each statue that many times.
7 times at the first, 5 at the second, 8 at the third.
Precisely. If you do that, you warp to a special reverse final zone.
And this zone is what, another super hard level?
No, it's purely a bonus. A huge high-score bonus. 4 million points. Or a whopping 8 million if you have the rare 2 item that doubles all your points.
It's the ultimate reward for cracking the game's meta logic.
And it was part of a real-world promotion. Players who found the keyword could mail it to Sunsoft for a chance to win a promotional towel.
They were rewarding players for figuring out the arbitrary numerical link between a phone code and some stoneheads.
It's fascinating how much the game requires you to think outside the box, to ignore conventional gaming logic.
Which brings us to the payoff.
Yeah.
After all this mastery, the bomb warp, avoiding the black hole, Nagoya code, what kind of ending do you get?
Honestly, it's severely disappointing. You reach the final zone, it's incredibly hard, but the boss fight isn't a showdown with Emperor Zavela.
So you don't even fight the main villain.
No, you just navigate a series of high-speed fire traps he sets.
And after you beat the traps,
You collect the diamond treasure, Zavela's attack stops, and your master, who was turned to stone, turns back to normal.
okay. And then a cool cinematic, an explanation of what the Mystery of Atlantis was.
No. The master just stands there and laughs continuously. The text, congratulation, misspelled by the way, is on the screen, and the music just loops.
So the game doesn't end.
You stay in control of Wynn, and it just continues indefinitely.
Yeah.
The central plot, how the master was captured, the mystery of the island, it's all completely abandoned.
The narrative just ends with a literal laugh track and a spelling error.
Yeah.
That feels like another layer of intentional cruelty.
Well, there's a heartbreaking reason for that, actually. The developers revealed years later they had planned a full, satisfying finale.
What was it supposed to be?
A scenario where Wynn and his master escaped the island in a hot air balloon.
A balloon escape. That's a proper adventure ending. What happened?
It was cut. The Famicom cartridge had such limited memory, they were using a 384K-bit ROM, and they simply ran out of space after building 101 complex zones.
So they literally ran out of memory and the ending became a looping screen and a laugh.
That's it.
Wow. That makes the whole thing feel like an epic story that just got cut short by technical limitations.
It feeds into the game's overall feeling of being almost deliberately unfinished. And there are other weird development quirks, too.
Like what?
The graphic for Wynn's master, the laughing guy, was actually reused from the main character of an earlier Sunsoft game called Icky.
Ah, so that explains why the master looks so drastically different from Wynn.
Exactly. The original plot was that Wynn was rescuing his father. But because the reused graphic looked so dissimilar, they changed the relationship in the manual from father to master to explain the visual mismatch.
Even the title is a quirk. It's spelled Adarankisu instead of the standard Japanese transliteration Adarantisu.
And that was reportedly because the graphic designer asked for the spelling change. They claimed it gave the title logo better visual balance.
So aesthetic choices dictate the title, memory limits dictate the ending, and arbitrary number sequences dictate the high score. It's a perfect microcosm of the whole game.
And yet, despite the low review scores, it got something like 17 out of 30 from players back then. The game's music is consistently praised. A driving, fast-paced melody.
And its legacy is strong. Even today, for all the frustrations, its brutal nature and that deep, non-linear exploration have built a passionate fan base dedicated to speedrunning it and mastering those controls.
So what we have here is, it's a technical paradox, an ambitious game that aimed to be the next Mario but crippled itself with deliberately obtuse controls and level design that demanded you hurt yourself.
An item balancing that gave you both game-breaking power-ups and the mind-numbing labor of 33,000 button presses for one life.
You know, if you look at it through a modern lens, you could argue the developers intended for the obscurity itself to be the point. You had to learn the system's strange, broken, internal logic to win.
The bomb warp, the secret Nagoya code. That was the real game.
The game officially promised to solve the mystery of Atlantis, but couldn't deliver the ending. But when you consider the intentional obscurity, the hidden routes, the mandatory self-destruction.
What if the true mystery of Atlantis was never about the island's history, but was the meta-mystery of how to actually navigate the game's own bizarre, internal, and often punishing logic?
The mystery wasn't in the lore, it was in the code.
It makes you wonder how many other games from that era have similar, undocumented metalogical secrets waiting to be found.
All because a developer decided to build a system where the rules were meant to be broken by design.
Something to ponder the next time you find yourself stuck pressing up 33,000 times. Thanks for diving deep with us.